Good evening. We are going to, I just want to encourage you to get one of the announcement sheets. You'll see some things going on. The main thing I want to make sure that everyone knows, obviously you know that camp starts on Sunday, and I'm sure that those of you that are involved in that know what's happening with that. There's some announcements on here. I do want to say that all campers, if you're attending camp this year, they're asking for each camper to bring chips and 2 liters of soda with them to share at camp. So, and there are other announcements that you can look at yourself and see that are happening here, and prayers that we want to mention. The main thing I did want to focus on, though, is we will not, next week's July 3rd, there will be no service here next week, Wednesday, due to the holiday, due to the so many being gone to camp. There will be nothing here next Wednesday, July 3rd. In 2 weeks, Tapped Airs will be here to continue the summer series. So no one here next week. But tonight we have someone that you're familiar with. And I thought rather than doing the normal thing, since so many of you are familiar with Russ, rather than me introducing someone that you know better than I do, well, I don't know, I know him pretty well, but you had those experiences with, that we would allow a couple of gentlemen here at the church to introduce Russ tonight. So I now turn it over to however order you want to do it, Josh Owens and Todd Mason.
All right, well, 2 years ago, it was your first summer series here, so last 2 years he's been doing stories on 1, 2, 5, or 10 of us, so I thought it was time that we told a few stories on him. Okay? Take away the encouragement aspect that he is, and Donna, the wonderful host that she's been over the years to us as we were growing up. I was just like, this has to be told. Years ago, it was 1988, about 31 years ago. It was the second week of July, and I know that, and I can explain really quick why in just a minute. But, really, Russ at that time was doubling as a youth minister and a children's minister. And if he was going to bring out those 8-year-olds, 7-year-olds, 9-year-olds, hey, we were going to go to it. If it was bobbing for apples, it didn't matter, okay? And in this case, we heard double dare. And we were like, okay, an obstacle course, slime, we're there, okay? He did use slime, okay? He did. It wasn't like the soap and glue that's used now, okay? Reason I know it was the second week of camp, or it was after camp, because he had taken the camp leftovers of all the canned vegetables and all the condiments on this hot 90-degree day and repurposed them and just laid them out on whatever piece of red bucket out at that playground, or slathered it on a swing, whatever, just put it out there for us. Whether it be 90-degree mustard, didn't matter. We were in it, okay? So anyways, his creativity, his energeticness, all despite that, Jonathan Aiken and myself, he can't eat green peas anymore. And I've been working through a food aversion on mayonnaise to this day. So anyways, I appreciate you bringing us out on a Tuesday. I mean, it was fun. So anywho, nobody else knew that, unless you were there. So, that was before Facebook. So I got to share it.
Well, I got to tell you, when I got the call that I get a chance to do this, I got pretty excited. And then it took me a little while because I had no clue. I told Kenneth, I said, well, just forget it. We'll just roast Russ tonight, and we don't need to talk. No, this guy, of course, means a ton to me, to my family. It's awesome that he's here the week before camp. A very exciting week. I'm still going, plan to keep going. It's always exciting and anticipation. So, but he has so much to do with it because he opened our eyes to, a lot of stuff. So when I was actually, I think it was my first year at camp, we were going to Land Between the Lakes. And I had the opportunity to get Russ. I was only in 4th grade. And my cousin Chris Mahaney and I, and Darren Raby and some other, anyway, we were all in the cabin, and we had Russ as our counselor. And I didn't know what a prank was. I didn't understand any of that. I mean, I was at church camp, you know what I'm saying, trying not to be weird, but I couldn't. And anyway, so there was a cabin of fourth grade girls, and I don't remember who their counselors were, but Russ had us chanting this thing about sardines and pork and beans, hubba hubba. Yeah, and we were doing that around camp. So these ladies, these counselors in the fourth grade girls cabin decided they would acquire a can of sardines, and they got into our cabin, and they put those sardines around our bunks and over in our bathing area and all of that. So we walk in one day, and of course the whole place smells like sardines. That was weird, as a fourth grader. I'm like, okay, what are we going to do? Well, immediately Russ said, we had a cabin meeting, and this was not going to fly. We had to come up with retaliation, and I was like, I'm going to love this guy. So it was amazing. So I'm in fourth grade. And in Land Between the Lakes, on Thursday night, the big final Devo, we had a big bonfire down by the lake, and everybody would go down there, the whole camp. But Russ pulled my cousin and I aside, and he said, here's what's going to happen. And he had picked up all the sardines, and he said, here are the sardines. And he said, when everybody in the camp is down at the Devo, he said, you guys are going to stay behind. And he said, you're going to slip into their cabin. And he said, what I want you to do is I want you to untuck their bunks, lift up their covers, and I want you to put these sardines where their feet will go when they get in there, and then tuck them back in and make it look. And I was like, wait. I don't have to go to the final Devo? I mean, you're going to let me run around this camp in the dark by myself? I was like, this guy's awesome. So sure enough, here we are with 2 handfuls of sardines, man. And the whole camp is down. And we go to the fourth grade girls' cabin, and you hear the dun 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 dun. We're being, and we go in, and the door's locked. Oh, and I got sardines in my hands. So I go around to the back door, locked. We check every window, locked. We're like, no, we cannot fail. So there we are in the dark, and we're behind this tree. And I don't know who the little caretaker guy was, but he lost some life that night on years, because he was walking up the trail with 2 empty buckets. He was going to bring water to put the fire out. And he was walking brisk, because I'm sure he'd seen Friday the 13th and some of these, and he knows that everybody in the camp is at the fire, except for 2 fourth grade boys. So he's walking down through, and I said, hey. He turned and threw his buckets, and they rolled down what are you doing up here? Do you have a key to the fourth grade girls' cabin? Get down to the fire. What are you? I mean, he laid into us. What for? Well, and I'm almost done. Well, we let Russ know it was a fail. And I had sardine smell on my hands for like 2 weeks after that. But we weren't done. No. Resolve. He taught us resolve. So he made arrangements for these counselors and their campers to ride back in a church bus or a church van. And I don't know what story you gave them, but Russ had taken those sardines. This was on the trip home, and he had opened the hood and put them on the engine manifold and closed the hood. So their air conditioner all the way back was blowing the smell of sardines. So I'm just saying, if I've ever pranked you or you wonder where it came from, the man that's getting ready to talk to you is where it all came from. So.
Oh, hello. Yeah, there we go. But I remember we'd say, hey, so-and-so, hey, Todd Mason, we can tell by your smell you're not feeling very well. Sardines, and pork and beans, hubba hubba. That was it. And I'll tell you why all of that is so deeply rooted within me. All right? Our church where we are now is at church camp this week. It's their 50th year, and I was at the first one. All right? And that first week of church camp, somebody pranked me. They put toothpaste in my ear. And I woke up the next morning with my hair looking like Donald Trump on the side. And it was stuck out and it was hard. And I thought, Now I'm going to get even with him. Now that's bad. That's bad. I'm confessing, okay? I'm going to get even with him. Well, it took a little while, like 2 or 3 years. But I said, all right, here it is. This is the year. So I got my buddy and we went over to their cabin while they were asleep. And I took shaving cream. And I put it all on his head. He looked like a lemon meringue pie. I mean, I had shaving cream that big. And my friend got his other guy. Well, right as we were walking out, I wanted him to know he had been gotten. And I wanted to see him knowing that he'd been gotten. So as we're walking out the door, I turned the light on and I went, ah! And he jumped up and I ran. And my friend ran with me. He goes, what are you doing? I said, follow my lead. And I took shaving cream and put it on my face and I put it on his face. And as soon as Ray and the other guy came out of their cabin, they ran right straight toward me. And I ran toward them. And I said, what'd you do? Get shaving cream on me. You got shaving cream on me? I said, no, Boogie. Oh. I said, I bet it was that cabin over there. And they went back and forth all week long. It was awesome. And then I grew up and became a preacher. I love this church. 10 of the greatest years of our lives and our ministry were here. We love you. We're thankful for your impact on our life. And your impact on young people has generational impact. The decades before, starting with campus ministry at Western, your focus on young people here with your preschool, with your Sunday school, with your youth minister, with you having interns, all of that. I'm telling you, it's some of the best things that you can do. Lives are impacted and marriages and families are impacted. And I commend you for that. We think of this church with great fondness. You're very dear to us. All of you except Shannon Pardue. But the rest of you we love. And love him too. I've been in ministry for 39 years. Donna and I just celebrated our 40th anniversary. And I just completed my first in my life sabbatical, which is strange language in churches of Christ, but not in other faith groups. In other faith groups, they're shocked that in churches of Christ you don't have sabbaticals. But I had my first ever after being at Dawson. Our arrangement was after a period so many years, I'd get a 6-week sabbatical. And so we were blessed to do that. And it was so refreshing and invigorating to worship at different places and not worry about starting on time and ending on time and do the slides work and does the microphone work, and you don't have to worry about it. You come in as a participant just to worship. It was wonderful. And so, of course, having that period of time off to go to different places, we came here a few weeks ago. Why? Because we love you. And we wanted to be with you. And I wanted to hear my buddy Kenneth. I don't ever get to hear Kenneth. I've got a gig going on Sundays. You know what I'm saying? So we just love you. And I'll tell you what, I don't know what they say to your face, but behind your back, Kenneth and Lori love y'all and sing your praises. Of course, everybody loves Lori and Amelia, but even Kenneth says good things about you when he's not around you. I don't know what he says to your face. Now, let me ask you this. How many of you either grew up in a house with brothers and sisters, or you had kids, more than one kid, and you had kids in your household? Hold your hand up. Hold them up. All right, hold them up high. Let me see them. Let me see them. All right, now, if those kids always got along, keep your hand up. Wow, just one hand. One hand. And he's a liar. Oh, was it Ray Newton? All right, I'm on sabbatical. I'm in North Carolina. I go in Mass General Store and I hear, Russ King! And it's Ray Newton. There's Ray and Ann. You can't go anywhere without being seen. He threw that beer out the window real quick so I wouldn't see him. No, I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding. 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 It was a joke. All right. Well, if you had siblings, they did not always get along, right? I've got 2 younger brothers. And one night, about like tonight, it was a summer night. I was about 12. My brother Gary was 11. And he just flipped my switch, and I hauled off with all I had. I hit him right in the stomach. Well, I hit him so hard, it knocked the air out of him, and he fell on the ground, writhing around, going, ah! And I thought, oh, glory, I've killed him. I really have killed him. It scared me. It scared me. Finally, oh, wow. Hey, buddy, don't tell Mom and Dad. We're not going to. Yeah, you've had, maybe you didn't haul off and hit him, but you've had something similar. Mom, he touched me. Dad, they crossed the line in the car. Does that sound familiar? Summertime vacation. We were going to Florida. All three girls in the back seat. She touched me. She's on my side. All right. We hit south of Montgomery, Alabama. I had 6 hours of that stuff, and I'd reached my limit. On Highway 331, in between Montgomery and Opp, Alabama, if you know what I'm talking about, I pulled over on the side of the road. I said, that's it, get out. And they said, what? Get out. Get out of the car. I'm serious, get out. They got out. I said, you see that telephone pole down there? Run to it. So they ran, they came back. I said, now we're going to get along next hour and a half, yeah. Okay. Now to hear them tell it, they were barefooted, running through broken glass and shards of metal and all that stuff. So, yeah, siblings, they don't always get along. I'd encourage you to take your Bibles and turn with me to Genesis 25 about two siblings that did not get along, Harry and Hillgrabber. It's weird names, but that was their names. You know them better as Esau and Jacob. Esau, you ready for this? Esau was the word that meant hairy. Hairy, like hair. And Jacob literally meant he grasps the heel. And that means absolutely nothing to us. It's just weird. But in Hebrew culture, to say he grasped the heel meant that he was a deceiver. So we've got the true story of Harry and Hillgrabber in Genesis chapter 25. And these guys, oh my goodness. You know, you would be hard pressed in Scripture to find a functional family. The truth is almost every one of them in there are dysfunctional, which gives us all some hope because most of ours are dysfunctional as well. Genesis chapter 25, beginning with verse 19. This is the account of Abraham's son, Isaac. Abraham became the father of Isaac. And Isaac was 40 years old when he married Rebekah, the daughter of so-and-so from so-and-so, sister of so-and-so. Isaac prayed to the Lord on behalf of his wife because she was barren, unable to have kids. The Lord answered his prayer, and his wife Rebekah became pregnant. Oh, she not only became pregnant, she became really pregnant. Twins. She became pregnant. The babies jostled each other within her. And she said, why is this happening to me? Oh, yeah, wait till they're born, and you're really going to ask that. So she went to inquire of the Lord. Why are these kids wrestling? They're jostling. The Lord said to her, verse 23, 2 nations are in your womb, and 2 peoples from within you will be separated. One people will be stronger than the other. The older will serve the younger. And when the time came for her to give birth, there were twin boys in her womb. The first to come out was red, and his whole body was like a hairy garment. So they named him Esau. Hey, he's pretty hairy. Let's call him Harry. After this, his brother came out with his hand grasping the heel. All right, now, if you've had twins, I mean, that's very unusual for them to come out one holding the hand of another. I mean, just wow, that's crazy. He was named Jacob, which means heel grabber, which is figurative for deceiver. Isaac was 60 years old when Rebekah gave birth to them. Oh, man, whew, that wears me out just thinking about it. I'm 61 and a half, and to think of having twin boys, are you kidding me? The boys grew up, and Esau became a skillful hunter, a man of the open country, while Jacob was a quiet man staying among the tents. Well, how about that? Same mom, same dad, two totally different personalities. Yeah, if you have multiple kids, you get it. You get it immediately. Go, makes sense to me. Isaac, the dad, had a taste for wild game. This is striking, and it's sobering and sad. Verse 28, Isaac, who had a taste for wild game, loved Esau, but Rebekah loved Jacob. It's sad. Does that mean that Isaac despised Jacob? No. It's just some real favoritism there. Esau's my boy. Jacob's your boy. Once, when Jacob was cooking some stew, the guy that liked to hang around the house and become a chef, Esau came in from the open country, famished. He said to Jacob, quick, let me have some of that red stew. I'm famished. That's why he's also called Edom. And your Bible has a little subscript that tells you Edom means red. Jacob replied, first sell me your birthright. Look, I'm about to die, Esau said. If you had teenage boys, you've heard that. I'm so hungry, I'm dying. I'm starving. I'm about to die. What good is a birthright to me? But Jacob said, swear to me first. So Esau swore an oath to him, selling his birthright to Jacob. Then Jacob gave Esau some stew, some bread and some stew, and he ate and drank, and then he got up and left. So Esau despised, it says, his birthright. He rejected it. He discounted it. He discredited it. He diminished it. Well, what insight are you getting into this family right off the bat? You're seeing parental favoritism. Now, my mom made a concerted effort and does to this day to say, I love all my boys the same. Now, I know she loves me better. I know that. But she says, I love all y'all the same. And if we're all together and she says, which one do you love? I love y'all the same. All right? And she has made a concerted effort with that throughout our entire lives. But Esau was favored by dad, Isaac. Jacob was favored by mom. Do you think they knew this? You better believe they knew it. They knew it from the time they were small. And whenever parents begin to show favoritism, you can be assured there's going to be some difficulty. And in many instances, that difficulty is lifelong. Some of you in this room probably, statistically, you probably know that pain. And what do you learn about Esau's temperament? All right, you've got a guy, he's a hunter. You've got a guy that's a chef. It's not that hunters make people this way, but just Esau's temperament. What do you learn about Esau's temperament? How would you describe him? He's impatient. He's impulsive. He's driven by the immediate. I'm hungry now. Birthright doesn't come until dad dies. I want stew now. Well, when you act impulsively and you act on your immediate desire, a lot of times that's not going to work out too well. Well, birthright doesn't mean anything to us today, but boy, it was huge back in those days. The firstborn son got a double portion of the inheritance. So let's, and it's strange. It's not that the wife would get it. I'm thankful that we're more equitable now, you know. You go to Phil, you get a will. He'll divide all this stuff out, you know. Back then, the birthright, the firstborn son would get a double portion, regardless of how many other kids there were. So let's say there are 2 kids, and he gets a double portion. Esau stands to get 60% of the estate, and Jacob 30%. But in his impulsiveness, he just sells it. He goes off. And so we have far-reaching implications there. But a little bit later, Jacob brings even greater pain to his brother. Turn over to chapter 27. And we're going to hit 3 or 4 different chapters, but we will be out of here by 9:30, I promise you. Genesis, 7:30, right, okay. Genesis chapter 27. When Isaac was old and his eyes were so weak he could no longer see, he called for Esau, his older son, and said to him, my son. Here I am, he answered. Isaac said, I'm now old, an old man, and I don't know the day of my death. In other words, it's getting close. Now then, get your weapons, your quiver and bow, go out into the open country to hunt some wild game for me. Prepare me the kind of tasty food that I like and bring it to me to eat, so I may give you my blessing before I die. All right, now, here's another thing. In addition to birthright, there was a blessing. And man, there's really, if you can think of what that's kind of like in our culture, I'd like to know. But I can't think of anything exactly like it. The blessing at this time was something that the patriarch, the father, would speak. And once he gave it, it was irrevocable. You couldn't say, oh, take back. I need to edit that. I need to make an addendum to the will. No. Once it was spoken, there it was. It was prophetic, and it stuck. That's the way it was. So Esau's about to die, and he wants to give his firstborn son the blessing. And so he's going to do that in a ceremonial way with food, as we often do. What do you do at Thanksgiving? What do you do at Christmas? You get the family together. You have, food is just a part of that. Go fix me some of that wild game. Verse 5. Now Rebekah was listening. Mom, or the wife was listening. Isaac's wife listening. Jacob and Esau's mom. She listened as her husband spoke to Esau. And when Esau left for the open country to go hunt game and bring it back, Rebekah said to Jacob, now Jacob is her favorite. That's already become evident. She goes to her favorite and says, hey, I overheard your father say to your brother Esau, bring me some game and prepare tasty food so that I may give you my blessing in the presence of the Lord before I die. Now, my son, listen carefully and do what I tell you. Go out to the flock and bring me 2 choice young goats, and I'll prepare some tasty food for your father just the way he likes it. Now, you know what? My wife cooks things better than any other person I know. I can go to so-and-so restaurant and it's okay, but it's not as good as my wife's. It's just the truth of it. And you know people in your family that make something better than anybody else can make it. Maybe it's your mama or your grandmama. Phil Kimball makes the best steaks anybody I've ever had. My wife makes everything else better except for steaks. All right, so you go get me some food and I'll make it just the way your father likes it. Then take it to your father to eat and he'll give you his blessing before he dies. Oh, this is really shaping up to be a great plan. You got an old man who's almost blind, and his wife is setting up to deceive her own husband to bring a blessing to her favorite son. And I love this, verse 11. But Jacob said to his mom, Mom, that's unethical. We don't need to do that. No, that's not what he said. My brother Esau has a problem, Mom. Esau's hairy, and I have smooth skin. What if my father touches me? I love the way the New International says this. I would appear to be tricking him. Appear? Not all translations say that, but I love that one. I would appear to be tricking him. Yeah, okay. I would appear to be tricking him, and he'd bring down a curse on me rather than a blessing. Ooh, see, the curse too. That had implications as well. And then Mom says striking words that sadly became very prophetic. His mother said to him, my son, let the curse fall on me. Just do what I say. Man. So he went and he got the goats, fixed it. Unbelievable deception. She takes the skin of the goats and puts it on the back of his hands, puts it on the back of his neck, tells him to get his brother's coat. So he goes in with the food. Dad, who is it? It's your son. It's your son, Esau. Well, it sounds like Jacob. Come here. So Jacob comes up. Esau. Smell the smell of Esau's coat. He smells like outdoorsman. Yeah. Smells like a campfire. Smells like deer meat. Whatever it was. Smells like it. And then he touched his hand. And well, his hands felt like Esau. Poor Esau. His hands felt like goat skin. And he felt the back of his neck. Yeah, well, I guess it is, my son. I guess my hearing's going too. He said, well, you hunted the game and you already prepared that way really quick. And Jacob said, well, God was with me and he helped me. And that's why. So that's what happened. Verse 21, Isaac said to Jacob, come so I can touch you to see if you're really my son Esau or not. Jacob went close. Isaac touched him. The voice is the voice of Jacob. The hands are the hands of Esau. He did not recognize him. His hands were hairy for his brother Esau, and so he blessed him. And he said, are you really Esau? And then Jacob said, yes, I am. And then Isaac said, my son, bring some of your game to me so I may give my blessing. And Jacob brought it to him, and he ate, and he brought some wine and ate and drank. Then his father Isaac said to him, come and kiss me. So when he went and kissed him, Isaac caught smell of his clothes, and he said, the smell of my son is like the smell of a field. The Lord is blessed, and he gives off. May God give you of heaven's dew and diverse riches. This is a blessing. Remember, it's irrevocable. May God give you of heaven's dew and diverse riches and abundance of grain and new wine. May nations serve you and peoples bow down to you. Be Lord over your brothers, and may the sons of your mother bow down to you. Those who curse you will be cursed. Those who bless you will be blessed. And after Isaac finished blessing him, and Jacob had scarcely left his father's presence, his brother Esau came in from hunting. He too prepared some tasty food, brought it to his father, said to him, my father, sit up and eat some of the meat of the game, so you may give me your blessing. And his father asked him, who are you? Who are you? I'm your son, your firstborn, Esau. Isaac, verse 33, trembled violently and said, who was it then that hunted game and brought it to me? I ate it just before you came. I blessed him, and indeed he will be blessed. And when Esau heard his father's words, he burst out with a loud and bitter cry, bless me! Me too, my father! The cry of Esau is the cry of all people. The cry of Esau is the cry of every young boy and every young girl. The cry of Esau of a desperate plea, please bless me too, my father. Now, unlike the Old Testament where those blessings were prophetic and irrevocable, if you have not given your children your blessing, if they're alive, it is not too late. You can still give them your blessing, even if they're 60 years old. I can tell you that you are never too old to want the blessing from your parents. And I've known many people through the years that did not receive that blessing. And it has been a struggle in various ways throughout their life. Oh, do not neglect giving your children your blessing. Let them know that you love them and you're proud of them, that you support them. Yes, the little 6-year-old on the diving board at the pool go, watch this, Daddy, watch this, Daddy. And you might say, my son's 36 years old now, it's too late. I'm telling you, it is not too late. A loud and bitter cry, bless me, me too. And then Dad said, you know what? Your brother came deceitfully and took your blessing. And Esau said, and this doesn't say through gritted teeth, but I'm thinking through gritted teeth, through a vein on the throat and on the head. Isn't he rightly called deceiver, Jacob, heel grabber? He deceived me these 2 times. Well, that wasn't accurate. He didn't deceive him the first time. Esau made that decision on the stew, and he was blaming Jacob for his own stuff. Come on, step up and own your own business. Don't blame others for everything else. But Jacob did deceive him on this one. He's deceived me 2 times. He took my birthright, now he's taking my blessing. Haven't you reserved any blessing for me? And Isaac said, I've made him Lord over you. and have given him all to you. And what can I possibly do? And Esau said to his father, do you have only one blessing, my father? Bless me too. Then Esau wept aloud, a grown man, sobbing, weeping. And then this strange blessing that I cannot explain. His father Isaac answered him, your dwelling will be away from the earth's richness, away from the dew of heaven above. You will live by the sword, and you will serve your brother. But when you go restless, you will throw his yoke off from your neck. Man, I wish it had been a different blessing. We kind of still receive some ramifications from that generationally and religiously. Verse 41, Esau held a grudge against Jacob because of the blessing his father had given him. And he said to himself, you know what? The days of mourning for my father are near, and I'm going to kill Jacob. Dad's close to death, so I'm not going to get him now, but I'm going to get him. I'm going to kill him. Now, who deceived whom? Who was the initiator? Was Jacob the initiator of the deception? Sadly, no, the mother was. Did Jacob show any hesitance? Yeah, what if I get caught? That's not really hesitance, is it? So instead of going, hey, Mom, I know you love me and all this stuff, but this is not a good idea. We need to honor Dad. No, he played right into it. So her response was, my son, let the curse fall on me. And did her words come true? Yes. Because as we're going to see in a minute, when she gets word of Esau's threat to kill Jacob, she gets word to Jacob, her favored. And she says, you better run because your brother's man, he's going to kill you. So you go over to the next area, go down to another country for a little while. When he cools off, I'll send word to get back to you to come on back. But you know what is sad? Once Jacob left, he never saw his mother again. She never saw her son. She died while he was estranged in another country. And so Esau comes and he's crying and he's weeping because the cry of Esau is the cry of all people. And then he makes a threat. And was his threat credible? Well, you tell me. You got an outdoorsman that is very skilled in hunting, gutting, and cleaning, frying and eating. And he's telling you, you're a dead man. Yes, it was a credible threat, and it was no idle threat. It was no summer afternoon, lose your temper and hit your brother in the stomach, knock the wind out of him. It was, Dad's going to die. And as soon as he's in the ground, you're next. So Jacob takes off. And he's going to be gone until Esau cools down. Well, how long does it take to cool down from losing your birthright and losing the blessing? How long is it going to take to get over that? Week? Month? Year? 5? 10? You've been hurt at some point in your life, and you still remember it. And it was years ago and you still remember. I'm 61 and a half years old. I remember something somebody said to me in 6th grade. It doesn't rule my life. I don't go to bed at night crying about it. I've overcome it a long time ago. But I still remember it. Boy, it doesn't get much deeper than family issues, does it? You ever had any family issues? Where one was deceiving to another and one hurt another and one stole from another, whatever. Yeah, that's the way it was. So he leaves, and anger of that intensity does not go away overnight. Days became weeks, and weeks became months, and months became years. And Jacob married Leah and Rachel and all that kind of stuff. We remember those stories. And Jacob had flocks and all kinds of stuff, and he increased exponentially. And 20 years went by. And 20 years in some ways is a short time, in some ways it's a long time. I was talking to a couple of folks right before class. Donna and I have been gone from here for 25 years. That is so weird. 25 years. You're going, you kidding? Yeah, we left in 94. Yeah, 25. It was Jody Richards. He goes, yeah, that's about right. Jody's good in math. So now we look at Genesis chapter 31 and look at we're coming close. Genesis 31. Picking up with verse 3, the Lord said to Jacob, time to go back home. Go back to the land of your fathers and to your relatives. I'll be with you. Home? Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute, God. Home is where Esau was. You know, you remember the guy that sold me his birthright? You remember the guy that I deceived and took his blessing because my mom encouraged me to do it and I went along with it? And Mom, my protector, the one that loves me, the one that I'm her favorite one, she's dead. And now you're telling me to go back to Esau? And he said, yep, that's what I'm telling you. What would be going through your mind if you're Jacob? Had Jacob forgotten what had happened? I wonder how often he thought about it. Every day? Wonder how often Esau thought about it. You want me to go back home? Yep, that's what I want you to do. What do you think might have been going through Jacob's mind? What was his last encounter with his brother? I'm going to kill you. But despite his fear, he headed home. And this is one of the good things that Jacob did in his life. Now later on, Jacob becomes a great leader in our spiritual ancestry. Jacob's name is changed to Israel. Does that sound familiar? So this guy, Jacob, he's starting to finally mature and man up, and he goes back home. And so he doesn't just go empty-handed. We see that he sends a lot of stuff in front of him. Go back to your relatives. So he goes and rounds up all his relatives. And he says, all right, it's time for us to go. And then we see he's in a bunch of flocks and stuff like that. We're going to see down in chapter 31, he gets all of these different animals. And then over in chapter 33, see, we're skipping a bunch. It's okay. Get to 33, Jacob looked up and he gets to Esau. Now, when Jacob's coming to Esau, he has all his family and all of his possessions behind him. And he's going in front. And man, you got to give it to him. He wasn't hiding in the back. He was out front. But what's very interesting is that he had his family staggered. And he put his favorite family members in the back. Look at the story of Leah and Rachel and all. Isn't that heartbreaking? You ever read that? So Jacob, who himself was favored, he also had favorites. So he goes in front, and then he brings Leah and Rachel and all them, and he sends all kinds of animals and stuff like that. Chapter 33. Jacob looked up, and there was Esau coming with 400 men. So he divided the children among Leah, Rachel, and the two maidservants, and he put the maidservants and their children in front, and Leah and her children next, and Rachel and Joseph in the rear. And he went ahead and bowed down to the ground 7 times as he approached his brother. So here's what he's thinking. Man, I wronged my brother, and I wronged him in a horrible way. And here he's coming with 400 men. Now, if you're going to meet your brother that you've wronged, that's made a death threat and fully capable of fulfilling it, and you look, and he's coming with 400 men, what's going through your mind? Huh? I'm toast. Here he comes, 400 men. How many people in here tonight, Kenneth? It's a preacher count. Give me a preacher count. 400 people. Who's the counter here? 180. 150, 180, so more than twice this number of people here, okay, are coming against you, all right? I mean, he's got special forces, he's got rangers, he's got all these guys coming. I'd be sweating. And so he staggers them. Well, by the time they get through me and the maidservants and their kids and Leah and maybe Rachel and Benjamin will escape. But then something incredible happens in verse 4. Esau ran to meet Jacob and embraced him. He threw his arms around his neck and kissed him. Who ran to meet whom? Verse 4, Genesis 33:4. Who ran to meet whom? Esau ran to meet Jacob. The one who was wronged is the one who ran for reconciliation. Now, Esau had a lot of failure in his life, guys, a lot. If you're keeping a tally score, Esau is not a guy to model your life after in a lot of ways. But I'm telling you, in this instance, he outshone Jacob. Esau is the one that runs to Jacob. No sword, no cursing, no lectures, no bow down to me 7 more times, you ingrate. No. He runs to his brother. They embrace. He threw his arms around his brother and did what? Kissed him. And there's nothing weird about that. If it were made into a movie by certain people today, they would make that weird. It's nothing about that. It's brotherly embrace, a holy kiss. He kisses him. And they both do something. What do? They wept. We're not talking about a little moisture in the eye. We're talking about weeping. We're not told why. But could you venture to guess why they wept? What are some possible reasons they wept? What might they have possibly cried about? All right, someone else. The mom is dead. Lost relationship. Lost years. All of these things. Years wasted. Sorrow for the way they treated each other. Sorrow now. This is the first time they've seen each other since mom has died. That they've seen each other since their beloved mother has gone. And then after this embrace of weeping, then along comes the parade. It's very interesting. All of the livestock and things like that. Now, if you look at it, and we're not going to read it, but you just look at it on your own, it's something like 200 female goats and 20 male goats, 200 ewes and 20 rams, 30 female camels with their young, 40 cows and 10 bulls, 20 female donkeys and 10 male donkeys. That was a peace offering. And so Jacob is bringing that. He said, I want you to have this. And Esau said, no, man, I've got all I need. That's all that I need. And then all the people came and bowed down. This is your Uncle Harry. This is your brother-in-law, Harry. Oh, hey, who's this? This is Leah. This is my first one. This is Rachel. This is my second wife. That's another discussion. Talk to the elders about that. All right, so then they go on, and he said, I brought all these animals for you. And Esau said, why? Look at this. Verse 9, Esau looked up and saw the women and children. Who are these with you? He said. Jacob said, they're the children God has graciously given your servant. Then the maidservants and their children approached and bowed down. And Leah and her children came and bowed down. Last of all, Joseph and Rachel came and bowed down. And Esau asked, what do you mean by all these droves I met? And you know what? Jacob tells truth. He doesn't try to lie this time. He doesn't try to deceive. I did it to find favor in your eyes. I did it because I messed up, man, and I want to show you how sorry I am. So all these hundreds and hundreds of animals and things like that are for you. But Esau said, I already have plenty. Keep what you have. No, please. If I have found favor in your eyes, accept this gift from me, for to see your face, and here it is. To see your face is like seeing the face of God. Now that you have received me favorably, please accept the present that was brought to you. For God has been gracious to me, and I have all I need. And because Jacob insisted, Esau accepted it. So he brings this gift, and big brother Harry says, man, I don't need that. I've been successful in my business too. I've got plenty. No, please. Please, if I found favor in your eye, please accept this, because to see your face is like seeing the face of God. You know, when you receive forgiveness, it is seeing the face of God. That is the gospel in sum. Forgiveness and reconciliation. That despite our sin and what we deserve, God takes initiative. And God extends forgiveness. And we come with all of this stuff, like God needs all of this stuff. I don't need all that stuff. No. But to see you, Esau, it's like seeing the face of God. And when you receive forgiveness, it's like seeing the face of God. And to extend forgiveness is to show the character of God himself. Esau blew it in so many ways, but boy, he got this issue perfectly spot on of extended forgiveness. Easier said than done. I will acknowledge that. But we have to say what it is. And then to experience reconciliation. Well, that's the gospel itself. Because I'm telling you, it's not humanly possible to come to that level of reconciliation without God being involved in that. And so even Jacob himself acknowledges that, no, the Lord has blessed me. Well, when you look at the true story of Jacob and Esau, you see very clear examples of how not to live. And you see one clear, good example of how to live. Favoritism, moms and dads, favoritism, it will haunt your family for decades and generations. Rebekah favored Jacob, who later became Israel. Did Israel favor any of his kids over the others? Oh, yes, I think he did. And how did that go? Not too well, because the brothers threatened to do what to Joseph? Kill him. Now, God worked through all of that and redeemed them and us, but there was generational impact from that favoritism. Impulsiveness. Man, learn from Esau. Don't sell your birthright for a bowl of stew. Don't sell your happiness for sleeping with your girlfriend. Don't sell your soul for taking a bribe. Don't act on impulse. Stop and think. Deception. Man, a mom that would seed with her son to deceive her husband, his father, that's so messed up. Deception. Man, an honest answer, the writer of Proverbs says, an honest answer is like a kiss on the lips. Separation, uncertainty, anxiety. But the end of this story is certainly worth modeling our lives after. And that is that we can receive forgiveness and we need to extend it too. Now, it's very tough if you've been hurt deeply. I have been. You live very long at all, you live long enough where you've been hurt, and you've been hurt deeply. I don't want to know the source or the reason. But if you have a deep hurt in your life, somewhere in your past, would you hold your hand up? Am I the only one? Almost all of us. Deep hurt. You say, well, yeah, but you don't know how deeply I've been hurt. That's true, I don't. I know I've been hurt, but I also know that I've been forgiven. And you know what? I've also caused hurt too. To my shame and my embarrassment. To be straight up honest though, not only have I been hurt, I've caused hurt. And that's not a good thing. But when we choose to forgive and reconcile, God is glorified. And not only are our lives blessed, but guess who else's lives are blessed? All those around us, starting with our family. starting with our spouses and our kids and our grandkids and with the friends and our brothers and sisters in the Lord. So as we close, just two real simple questions. And that is, are you reconciled with God? Are you reconciled with God? Have you, like Jacob, taken off and run to a foreign land? How's that going for you? Are you reconciled to God? It's not too late to come back, you know? In fact, Jesus himself talked about the son who took his share of the inheritance and left and spent it on wild living, and the father's looking for him. And when the son comes back, the father runs to meet him. Are you reconciled with God? It's not too late. It's not too late to come back into the house. And secondly, is there someone with whom you need to be reconciled? Maybe in your family. Maybe in this church. Maybe in another church. Maybe at work. Somebody has to make the first move. Who's it going to be? Forgiveness and reconciliation. Yep, grace in conflict. In very real world example. From Harry and Heel Grabber. Lord, you've blessed us. Thank you. We've deceived. We've manipulated. We haven't been truthful in all things. We have not been righteous in all things. We have been hurt and we have caused hurt. We have hurt you and we have hurt others. And we pray that you will open our eyes to a loving Father who runs to embrace us if we'll just turn our face toward home. If we'll just take that step, you run and embrace. Well, we thank you, Lord, that even while we were still sinners, Christ died for the ungodly. Very rarely will anyone die for a good person. But while we were still sinners, Christ died for us, and we're thankful for that. So help us, Lord, to be reconciled to you, and help us to extend reconciliation and forgiveness to others around us. You are our God. We love you and we thank you. In Jesus' name, amen.